This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Michael Dukakis stuck with his end-of-the-game strategy today. George Bush shifted his at least a bit. Dukakis kept up his attacks on Bush and Dan Quayle, concentrating on what he sees as failed policies and favoritism for the rich. Dukakis' own running mate, Lloyd Bentsen, talked of a Bush-Quayle administration, saying that if elected, it may have a tough time with Congress because it has slung so much mud during the campaign. For their part, Bush-Quayle forces continued to exude confidence. They continued to maintain that the Democratic ticket is out of the mainstream and maybe out of the race. But Bush hustled and hurried to move around a lot of places in a single day today, moving off somewhat his more restrained, less press pace of the past few days. Eric Ingberg, traveling with Bush, begins our coverage.
George Bush's strategists, nervous over signs that working-class Democrats have started coming home, are whipping Bush around the industrial Midwest like a fire brigade. He started with a rally this morning in Columbus, Ohio. The Republican lead has been shrinking in this key state, so Bush called in the Terminator, film star Arnold Schwarzenegger, to smoke the Democrats.
When it comes to the American future, Michael Dukakis will be the real Terminator.
Nationally, Bush still has a double-digit lead, but his aides concede the possibility of losing several large battleground states. So there's no statesman-like posture on the trail. The attacks only grow tougher. No hesitancy about using the other guy's lines either.
George Bush is on your side of the great divide. He is the one that shares the mainstream values. He is not the one on the political extreme. He shares your values.
Yesterday, Bush was campaigning in an Illinois high school. Today, after Ohio, he was back campaigning in an Illinois high school, a different one. It says something about the closeness of the race in Illinois.
It is a crossroads state, and the result still hangs in the balance.
But the PA system was hard to hear, and Bush quickly lost the young captive audience. It was just one sign that frenzied schedule shifts to try to head off Democratic inroads are straining a once error-free organization. Even retail campaigning, like this spur-of-the-moment Illinois restaurant stop, is getting a try. Bush's staff remains confident there is no panic, but they admit his real lead is nowhere near as large as it looks. Eric Ingberg, CBS News, Chicago Heights, Illinois.
On the outside, it was all smiles today as thousands of supporters in Philadelphia threw a birthday party for Michael Dukakis.
Dear Governor Dukakis, happy birthday. We wish you the next presidency.
Dukakis was hoarse but upbeat.
We're coming on strong all across this country.
Yet inside the campaign, staffers know they are fighting an uphill battle. So Dukakis has taken the offensive, today proposing a $400 million drug-free schools program, and once more raising the specter of Manuel Noriega, saying again he would be tougher than George Bush on countries that don't cooperate in the war on drugs.
His administration has cut deals with foreign drug runners. I'm going to cut aid to foreign drug runners. That's what we're going to do.
Campaign aides admit that virtually the only chance Dukakis has of winning now is to win 6 of the biggest states. That's where Dukakis will be focusing his attention in these final days. And polls show the race tightening up here in Pennsylvania and several other crucial states. At a town meeting outside Philadelphia today, Dukakis offered the wisdom of his experience to a budding politician.
My question is, do you have any advice on things I should say?
Don't let him get away with a thing. And don't let him put any commercials up there. Just stick to the issue. Okay,
Dukakis doesn't seem to be taking his own advice. The campaign today starts airing this commercial attacking Dan Quayle.
As Jack Kennedy did.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Dukakis says he's surging now. The polls show only a ripple. Some say he needs a tidal wave if he hopes to turn things around by Tuesday. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Philadelphia.
While much of the attention is, of course, focused on the presidential race, a third of the U.S. Senate seats, 33, are also at stake election night. Current Senate lineup, the Democrats have it 54-46. Even many Republicans consider GOP chances of retaking the Senate this time remote, although President Reagan is among some others who have been confidently talking up the idea of realignment, a real mandate for George Bush. CBS News Capitol Hill correspondent Phil Jones looks tonight at how down and dirty, up close and personal some of these Senate contests are and why it's no accident.
Thank you.
Lost in the presidential mudslinging are some of the nastiest Senate campaigns in the nation's history.
I'm not going to stand here while you cheap shot this issue.
The truth is, you won't hear the truth from Leo McCarthy.
Like the presidential race, most of the Republican Senate campaigns have focused on a handful of issues, with the dirty L word, drugs, and crime at the front lines of the attacks. Local issues have been ignored.
Hey, Buddy and Mike, you're liberal.
Lowry's the liberal even Seattle can't afford.
What Leo McCarthy does helps keep criminals in our neighborhoods and not here where they belong.
And if you think all that is nasty and mean, you ain't seen nothing yet. Welcome to the New Jersey Senate race.
He called me a swamp dog, could you believe? Said he was going to tie me up leg by leg, drag me out of the swamp, and stomp on me.
It is true, at a partisan rally after our first debate, among a lot of real enthusiasts, I called him a swamp dog.
Both incumbent Frank Lautenberg and Republican challenger Pete Dawkins claim the other started the fight. Like the presidential candidates, each has plenty of mud on his hands. Lautenberg has implied that Dawkins, who moved to the state 2 years ago, is a carpetbagger and liar.
Pete Dawkins. He'll move anywhere, say anything to get elected.
Dawkins has attacked Lautenberg for having financial interest in companies with government business.
Frank Lautenberg, he'll deny anything to get elected as long as he can make some money on the side.
Since Lautenberg is worried that the Dukakis problem in New Jersey could hurt him, he talks about himself.
That's why I've worked so hard to make New Jersey not just a high-tech state, but a space-age state.
But Dawkins, like other Republican Senate candidates, is linking himself to Bush and his campaign themes.
Dukakis and Lautenberg oppose the death penalty for drug dealers who killed.
Bush and Dawkins support the death penalty.
Since people understand where Mike Dukakis stands on issues much more clearly than where Frank Lautenberg does, to put them together where they accurately belong is a useful shorthand for identifying my opponent's position.
It's not surprising that the Senate races resemble the presidential campaign tactics, since more than half of the Senate contests are being run by the same media consultants who are running the presidential campaigns. Just call it trickle-down politics. Phil Jones, CBS News, Freehold, New Jersey.
And still to come on the CBS Evening News, Susan Spencer on people who need hard drugs and doctors who should say yes. And Harold Dow on a folk medicine, crime, and the threat to the last of the rhino.
The new Remington Electroblade vibrating blade system has been an amazing success for those who prefer shaving with a blade. Electroblade's high-speed motor and vibrating twin blades glide so easily, you'll get the closest, smoothest, most comfortable blade shave you've ever imagined. If you don't, I'll give you your money back. Safe, immersible, and cordless. The new Remington Electroblade vibrating blade system. A blade shave like you've never imagined, or your money back.
I woke up with this killer pressure from a sinus cold.
Sinus cold.
Pain.
Pressure. Ingestion.
Couldn't breathe.
Pain. Ingestion. Pressure.
The pain was awful.
Congestion. Pressure.
I took new maximum strength Dristan. I'm here.
Discover new maximum strength Dristan. It combines two strong medicines to drain sinus cavities, unclog congestion, to relieve pressure and pain.
And it won't make you drowsy.
New maximum strength Dristan. Strong medicine for tough sinus colds.
Got a nice minty taste to it.
That's good. Can you say that about your liquid antacid? If not, taste new Tums Liquid.
It has a nice taste to it. It's delicious. Tums tastes the best.
New Tums Liquid. It works, and it really tastes good.
There's nothing like a bowl of Campbell's soup.
My treat?
To warm things up.
That's what Campbell's soups are. Ooh, good.
British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher told Polish leaders tonight that they will not get financial aid from the West unless they start dealing with solidarity. At a banquet in Warsaw given by Communist Party chief Wojciech Jaruzelski, Mrs. Thatcher called for, quote, real dialogue with all sections of the society, including the outlawed union. Bert Quint is our man in Poland.
Mrs. Thatcher came to Poland right in the middle of another showdown between the regime and the outlawed Union. One of her hosts, Prime Minister Mieczysław Rakowski, gave the order earlier this week to close the Lenin shipyard in Gdansk, Solidarity's birthplace and stronghold, ostensibly for economic reasons, but apparently an attack on Solidarity. She got a taste of the Solidarity spirit today when she visited the grave of a priest murdered by the Polish secret police in 1984. And she's coming to Gdansk tomorrow to meet with Lech Wałęsa, the first Western head of state allowed to do so. Gdansk is an angry city. At the shipyard, some workers vowed that come December 1st, when the government plans to close the yard, they will take it over. Authorities claim there are plenty of other jobs for the 11,000 employees who are to be let go, but these skilled laborers have checked at the yard's newly created employment office and found that many of the available jobs are menial ones and would pay just a third of their already skimpy wages. People in Gdansk say the plan to close the yard is purely political. They point to the fact that last year's losses were less than those of other shipyards, including this one in neighboring Gdynia. The issue has halted progress in organizing talks between the regime and Solidarity aimed at implementing economic and political reform. Wałęsa said today there can be no talks until the government revokes its order to close the yard. Tonight, authorities signaled a willingness to make peace. They appealed to Wałęsa on national television. Come to the bargaining table. Bert Quint, CBS News, Gdansk.
An official in the Maldive Islands said tonight that troops from India have moved in and apparently put down a coup attempt. The government called on India for help after hundreds of mercenaries invaded the island's capital early today, attacking the presidential palace. The president got away, but at least 12 people were killed in gun battles. The mercenaries were said to be from Sri Lanka, apparently hired by rivals of the elected government in the Maldives. A federal judge today ordered Ferdinand and Imelda Marcos to provide fingerprints to the FBI. The Marcos' lawyers said they'll appeal to the Supreme Court. Marcos claims immunity as a former head of state. As CBS News correspondent Wyatt Andrews reports, the Marcoses may be exiled and indicted, but they still have plenty of friends.
Ferdinand Marcos claims to be too sick to travel to New York, but loyalists in his hometown, 250 miles north of Manila, expect him to show up here at any moment. They believe so strongly that Marcos will return, they've delayed burying Marcos' mother, and she died 6 months ago. Oh, sure, he's got to come back, this man says, because he needs his mother buried. Yes, he should return, she is saying. He can come help stabilize our government. The nostalgia for Ferdinand Marcos comes from the perception that as corrupt as he was, the corruption was at least efficient. With bribery as a key motivator within the government in its own way worked. And that's the key criticism of the Aquino government, that it doesn't work, that the garbage doesn't get picked up, that public utilities are unreliable, that 2.5 years after the fall of Marcos, economic reform should be much farther along. President Aquino is still seen as a saint, but even saints, if they're the president, are expected to collect the trash.
Many times, people in a certain neighborhood put out their garbage not only once a day, but sometimes twice or even 3 times a day. And it is impossible.
Critics joke that Aquino's government is a performance-free government. Critics including Francisco Tatad, a former spokesman for President Marcos.
Let's face it, the president came into office without any previous government experience. This is the first time she is working outside of the country.
Despite Aquino's problems, a Marcos comeback isn't likely. His only pockets of support are factions in the military and in his home province. Still, it's not as if the indictment of Marcos led to celebrations here. Just the opposite, it led more Filipinos to question the competence of the Cory Aquino government, why her lawyers didn't indict Marcos, and why, if Marcos was all that bad for the Philippines, is he being prosecuted by the United States. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Manila.
In South Korea, thousands of radical students threw firebombs at police for 4 hours today. The students were trying to march on the home of former President Chun Doo-hwan, threatening to arrest him for alleged corruption and abuse of power. Police held them off with tear gas. It was the worst political violence in Seoul since massive anti-American protests last summer.
Choose to make a difference.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can.
It's all right. Every time you reach for MasterCard from now through December, we'll donate money to 6 worthy causes, and you can help choose where the money goes.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand.
Choose to make a difference. Choose MasterCard.
After you've produced the yearly report in record time, after you've made order out of paperwork chaos, after you've turned the slideshow into a colorful part of your winning proposal and seen productivity become top priority, maybe after all that you'll know why Canon is the most popular copier in America. From personal to color laser copying, the choice is Canon. Call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
When I need a laxative, I use Dulcolax.
Doris Jones talks about Dulcolax.
I like Dulcolax because it's very mild and gentle and dependable.
Dulcolax, tablets and suppositories.
Dulcolax works every single time.
If you're hooked on smoking, chances are your body's hooked on nicotine. To quit, you may need your doctor's help. There are clinically tested methods that can break your nicotine addiction for life. Call your doctor.
An arrest last night in Hartford, Connecticut. Behind it, an international network that is pushing a creature 60 million years old to the brink of extinction. CBS News correspondent Harold Dow was there when the arrest was made.
The suspect is in the shadows, wearing a safari hat. The undercover agent pretending to be a buyer. The arrest suddenly made.
John Luckman.
Keep your hands in the clear.
Federal agents, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. You're under arrest for conspiracy to smuggle wildlife and machine guns into the United States. Put your hands behind your back.
But this time it wasn't drugs or cash that federal agents confiscated. It was the horn of the rhinoceros.
Right now, they're going for about $1,000 an ounce.
$1,000 an ounce?
Yes, sir.
In other words, you're saying they're worth more in their weight than gold?
Yes, sir. You're talking well over $100,000 right now.
Because so few rhinos are left in the world, only about 3,000 black rhinos, the value of their horns is skyrocketing. They are treasured in Asian communities because of their use as medicines and aphrodisiacs. The arrest last night of 34-year-old John Luckman and 2 other Connecticut residents ended an 8-month government investigation into what agents described as a well-run international network of smugglers. Smugglers who dealt in both endangered species and guns. But federal officials today said the smuggling conspiracy involved more than just the 3 people arrested here in Connecticut. They say it also involves members of the South African Army. Federal officials say one member of the South African Defense Forces was in the United States last summer at this skydiving meet outside Chicago. The indictment alleges a rhino horn was smuggled in using the event as a cover. Late today, the South African embassy said its government would take a dim view of the perpetrators if the charges prove true.
The train seems to be a well-organized network of top men, middlemen hiring poachers who, in the case of Zimbabwe, illegally cross the river from one country to another.
Conservationists say arrests like these are only a small dent in a $150 million a year business that, unless it is stopped, will eliminate the rhinoceros and other animals from the face of the earth. Harold Dow, CBS News, Hartford, Connecticut.
In Washington, the Agriculture Department officially proposed new rules today, cutting back on federal inspections at some of the nation's meat and poultry processing plants. Instead of the current system of steady inspections at all of them, the processing plants with problems, it is said, would be targeted for close inspection.
Putting the sun to work is my vision of the future. I believe solar-powered cars will be practical and necessary. Dow believes in my dream and has given me an open road to explore it. To discover and prove the car's worth, Dow backed me in races across Australia and over the Alps. As the dream comes closer, Dow is making the difference.
Dow lets you do great things.
AT&T called this morning. They wanted to know why we switched to MCI. So I told them MCI showed me how with Prism Plus we could consolidate all our Watts lines on our regular business lines. Something they never did for me. Of course, then they claimed they could do the same thing. I said, then why didn't you tell me that a year ago? End of phone call.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. MCI. Let us show you.
There are headaches.
And the car payment is overdue.
And headaches. There's aspirin and aspirin. Anacin. Clinical tests show that Anacin relieves headaches better than regular aspirin.
Feeling better, hun?
Not just better, better. Anacin. Better relief.
Sure, I want my vitamins, but I don't want to be here all morning. One glass of great-tasting Sunsweet prune juice gives me more iron and calcium than those other juices. Sunsweet. Here's to your health.
Again today, George Bush defended the fairness of campaign advertising featuring Willie Horton, the killer furloughed in Massachusetts who raped a woman and stabbed a man while he was out. The Dukakis campaign argues that these ads are uncalled for, unfair, and divisive, attacks with racist overtones. There is no argument that the ads have had much impact, so much impact that an embarrassed Republican governor of Texas has restricted his own state's inmate furlough program. James Hattori reports tonight on politics and prison furloughs in one of the main battleground states of Campaign 88.
Texas has long cultivated a lock-'em-up mentality, but this morning, convicted burglar Curtis Davis began a week-long vacation from his 5-year sentence. He's on furlough, a largely successful program the Republicans have turned into a dirty word. In Texas, George Bush's adopted home state, 5,000 inmates, including hundreds convicted of murder and manslaughter, have received furloughs over the last 2 years under a Republican governor.
Well, I don't think the people of Texas really favor this program. I don't favor this program.
The program has embarrassed Governor Clements, who is state co-chairman of the Bush campaign. Clements signed a law last year extending furloughs from 5 to 7 days. The Bush commercial caught Clements and prison officials off guard. They suddenly halted furloughs for murderers in Texas after Bush began using the issue to pummel Dukakis. Those who work with inmates say the controversy unfairly taints the program.
I really see the political reaction as rank hypocrisy. I think it's trash for all practical purposes.
In fact, every state has some sort of prison furlough program, often granting inmates time for family emergencies or to find a job before release. Prison experts say furloughs are justified.
It sends them back with a better attitude, less hostile, under greater control, with more to live for, and more to be legal and ethical about.
What you gonna do?
Be with my people and love them, like I should have been doing in the first place.
The Texas furlough program is in jeopardy now. Officials deny any political motivation. After 11 years of what many call a successful policy, the Texas Corrections Board plans to review furlough guidelines at its next meeting, a week after the presidential election. James Hattori, CBS News, Brazoria, Texas.
Tony, what are you eating now? Fruitful Brand?
Yeah, it's peaches and raisins.
Hey, Tony, that looks good.
It is. It's Fruitful Brand. It's apples and dates.
You just said it was peaches and raisins.
Well, it was.
Don't lie to your father.
Well, now it's raisins, apples, and dates.
Didn't you just hear your mother?
Hey, it is apples and dates.
Give me the box, Rosa. I'll decide.
Only Fruitful Brand has so many fruits, you get a different fruitful combination in every bite.
It's peaches, raisins, and dates.
So it changed.
Kellogg's Fruitful Brand. It's never the same bite twice.
With low back pain, every step shoots pain. Up here. Know what helps?
Clinically proven Back Guard, a shoe insert. Watch how it absorbs foot shock to relieve low back pain.
Amazing. Something down here can help up here.
New Back Guard from Dr. Scholl.
Remember this little number. It's just 150 calories, no fat, and it tastes fabulous. Plus, this little number is going to help me get into this little number.
Yoplait 150, now in vanilla and mixed berry.
Heartburn flaring up?
It never seems to stop.
How long have you been taking antacids?
Seems like forever.
Have you told the doctor?
Won't he just tell me to take these?
Not necessarily. Nowadays, doctors can diagnose and treat your heartburn and indigestion.
Now that's worth a visit to the doctor.
If you've been suffering from persistent heartburn, indigestion, or stomach pain, this could be a serious problem. Make an appointment to see your doctor now. Brought to you by Glaxo Pharmaceuticals.
And finally tonight, a shocking look at some often overlooked casualties in the war on drugs. We have seen in recent years the terrible toll in the rising tide of drugs sweeping through our society, victims of murder and robbery, police gunned down on the streets, families destroyed. But there also are the silent sufferers, the people in desperate, legitimate need of drugs who are turned away. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer has been looking into this.
From the highly publicized drug bust to the public service ads to the First Lady's personal crusade, the country's war on drugs is impossible to miss.
Say yes to your life. And when it comes to drugs and alcohol, just say no.
The problem these days is that in this highly charged anti-drug atmosphere, doctors are saying no, sometimes to the wrong people.
We don't separate the patient who needs a drug for its intended use from the patient who abuses, or I shouldn't say patient, from the person who abuses these drugs.
I was classified as a dopehead, and the intent of the staff was to dry me out.
Reverend Olin Walters, Baptist minister, takes enough morphine every morning to make any addict's day. 3 operations for cancer have left him with an open wound that will not heal.
Where would you be without it?
In bed, about 90% of the time, I feel quite sure. The word morphine does not frighten me at all. The idea of becoming addicted to it does not concern me.
But for years it concerned his doctors so that Reverend Walters suffered needlessly, and he is not alone. Studies find more than half of all hospitalized patients in pain get inadequate relief. And out of the hospital, they often find many doctors won't write prescriptions for narcotics, and pharmacists won't fill them, all out of a misguided fear of creating addicts.
Even though the medical patient is physically dependent upon this drug, it's very easy to taper them off of it when they are no longer in need of it.
They don't have the craving for the drug. They don't sacrifice all their ethical and moral values for the drug. The drug does not become the paramount reason for their existence.
But cancer patients see the irony that the same class of drugs that destroys so many lives is all that gives their lives meaning.
Certainly I feel no high, no elation from it, other than relief of pain. If I had to just lie in bed, racked with pain, and starting to feel sorry for myself, I mean, what is there to live for at that point?
Several organizations are trying to better educate physicians and the public about the use as opposed to the abuse of narcotics to prevent this country's determined war on drugs from creating its own innocent victims. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News. We hope you'll stay tuned for the program 48 Hours tonight as it examines the battle between pro and anti-gun lobbies. That's tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. Dan Rather. See you later on 48 Hours.
Gunfight, an American right or an American wrong. An election day duel over the right to bear arms. 48 Hours tonight.
This is CBS.